Yo, what's up guys? So today we're gonna go check out a couple of properties that we're actually renting and then turning into Airbnbs. So these properties specifically we're renting from the landlord, and then with that landlord's permission, furnishing the home and then listing it on Airbnb to make 4 times what we're paying in rent. This is the exact strategy that I've done over the past half a decade. It's made me over $6 million. Let's go check it out. Sick. Alrighty. All right, so we're gonna go check out a couple properties that I'm setting up for some clients. These properties are in Scottsdale, Arizona. They're properties that we have acquired for them. Like I said in the beginning, we're renting these properties from landlords. So these clients use my team to call these landlords and negotiate for them. And then we secured the property with them, and now they're using my interior design team and setup team to obviously do the interior design on these properties and set them up remotely so that they don't have to be there in person to set these properties up. And then once they're good to go, we'll have photos and we'll list them on Airbnb, and these properties should make 2 to 4 times the rent in profit. Best part about it is we acquired the 0% interest funds for them as well, so they didn't have to use their own cash to set these properties up. They didn't have to risk getting any loans or mortgages to acquire these properties because we are renting them and then subleasing them with the landlord's permission. So it really works out because it's extremely high cash flow with low overhead and low debt, because you don't have to take on physical risk of buying something or any financial risk of having to put a down payment or anything like that. Because if they were to buy one of these properties and turn it to an Airbnb, like, yeah, you could do that. But for an investment property, you can't use a personal loan. It has to be a investment loan. So they'd have to put about 20% down on these properties. And some of these properties are, $1 million homes, $2 million homes. Like, to put 20% down, they'd have to put like $200,000, $400,000 down. And it would take, even if it was an Airbnb, it would take a long time to recoup their investment. Now, this way, because they are renting the homes, they can make their investment back in a few months instead of like, decades. They can make their money back in 3 to 6 months on these properties just from the cash flow and get their investment back, which is absolutely insane when you're considering investments. Because if you think about like what just the investment industry considers a good investment, like the S&P 500. The S&P 500 is the top 500 stocks. It's considered a safe investment. It generates about 7% return every single year, and that's considered like I wouldn't consider like really good investment, but it's a really good safe investment. And these properties are generating 50% returns in a month. So that means these properties are generating significant amount of income in a year. I'm trying to get it to pop when I pass the car, because then it fucking echoes. It's super loud. So this is one of the properties that we're setting up right now in Scottsdale, Arizona. This property will do about $13,000 a month in revenue. So it'll do about $7,000 to $8,000 a month in profit. The cool part about this, the client that we're setting this up for, again, he's setting this up without using any of his own cash to set the property up. We're using 0% interest business credit to cover it all. Every month, the revenue that the property generates is going to pay that off within 3 to 6 months, and then he'll be able to do this process over and over again, as many times as he wants. The property he's renting it, so he didn't have to buy it, didn't have to take out any loans, mortgages, no personal debt at all. Let's go check it out. So this property is a 4-bedroom, technically. We have 3 bedrooms in the house, and then back there you can see that we have a little casita. You can see it through the window. The casita has a kitchen, a full bathroom, and obviously a bed in there. So this house will be able to, you always want to maximize for guests, because typically the more guests that you can fit, obviously the more that you can charge. So this property will probably be able to fit 12 to 14 people depending on how we do the layout. Like I said, this property would do about $13,000 a month. We have landlords, we have email lists of over like 400,000 landlords. Right now, it may look fully furnished, but actually none of this furniture is going to be staying in here because we are going for a much higher quality luxury type of Airbnb so that we can appeal to a higher quality guest. First of all, higher quality property, we can appeal to a higher quality guest so we can charge a higher price and make more money off of our investment. A lot of people have this perception that Airbnb is quote unquote saturated. People ask me, is Airbnb saturated? I tell them yes, 100% it is saturated. It's saturated with people that don't know what the hell they're doing. And that's 80 to 90% of any city or market. You'll notice the top 10% of properties are always going to kill it. They're always going to crush it because that top 10, top 20% of properties is going to eat up the rest of the market, the bottom 80 to 90% of the market. So when you're in the top 10, top 20% of properties, you don't have to deal with saturation because you're performing in the top of the market. It's, for example, if you were to go eat dinner somewhere, you were to go look at the reviews on a restaurant, obviously most people are going to show up to the place, you know, pops up on the map first, that has the highest reviews. The same thing with Airbnb. This one is also in Scottsdale, Arizona. This one will do about similar numbers as the last one. This one is a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, and it'll do about $12,000 to $14,000 a month in revenue. So that's pretty sick as well. So this is another property that we just pretty much finished setting up. This property, same thing. The client started working with me. First things first, we set up his LLC, got that all good to go. And then we actually acquired his 0% interest business funding through his LLC, which is a pretty cool thing about that is that it doesn't affect your personal credit. Yeah, this property is a 4-bedroom, 2-bath or 3-bath. And this property, same thing. It will sleep 10 to 12 people. Because we do this stuff where we double stack queen size beds, and this allows you, this room right here will just have 4 people. And that's something that you want to maximize for on Airbnb to generate obviously more revenue. Here's the second bedroom right here, pretty sweet. We are in Arizona, so we went for like, you know, a cactus desert kind of theme. We will have the photographer come out, come take pictures, and then we'll list this property on Airbnb. Same thing, this property will do about 4 times what we pay in rent in revenue. Yeah, from there, once everything's listed with all the photos and descriptions, we'll set up AI automations to manage the property as far as messaging guests, keeping up with guests. We actually train the AI to sound like you, talk like you, how to respond like a professional host. Outside, what we got going on right here, we set up lights right here all around the porch. We got an outdoor billiards table with a professional billiards top, slate, balls, pool cues, obviously. Seating area with a propane fire pit, all the pool loungers, and then out here, we're gonna add a couple more things out here, but we have the cornhole boards, a pretty badass pool with a beach entry, and then fountains that pour over, and obviously, before we launch this property, we'll have the calcium and everything removed from the pool, so it's crispy clean, and once everything gets here, we'll have the cleaning team come through and make sure this property is absolutely spotless. Pachi. That was the couple properties that we checked out today. I'm gonna sit down on my computer, kind of show y'all what it looks like to run down a deal like that, see what it looks like to, you know, find a deal like that, run the numbers, and show how profitable a property would be if you know how to do it correctly. Other than that, we'll run through that, and then I'll see y'all on the next video. Alrighty, so what I'm going to do is show you one of the properties that we went through today in the video, show you what it's like to run the numbers and know how profitable you're going to be and get as close as you can get to guaranteeing it. First thing I like to do, obviously I'm not going to show you all the property or the address on this property. I'm not going to disclose all the information on this property, but this property, they did rent it from the landlord. They leveraged 0% interest business credit cards to cover all the costs of all this. And the cool part about that is that we acquired that 0% interest credit cards for them. This client in particular got $212,000 in 0% interest business funds. Based off location, first thing I want to do is go over to a wonderful place called Airbnb, and I'm going to search up this specific market, which happens to be Phoenix, Arizona, more specifically Scottsdale. And then I'm going to go over here where it says STR listings, which is short-term rental listings. I'm going to filter for revenue. This is going to show me all the properties from most revenue generated to least revenue generated the further down you go. Now what I'm going to do, because typically when you run this analysis, you do it before you acquire the properties. You decide if your property is up to par or if it can compete with the top percentile of the market. Because in order to stay in the top percentile and not have to worry about or to avoid market changes, seasonality, or worrying about saturation, you really only have to worry about those things when you're in the lower percentile of a market. When you're in the top 10, top 20% of a market, you eat up all the market share. So you don't have to worry about being in the bottom 80%. If you're in the bottom 80% of the market, your market share is getting eaten up by the top 20%. So if as long as you're performing in the top percentile, you take up the top percentile, obviously, and then you eat up the bottom 80% of market share as well, because it's like I mentioned earlier, if you're going to eat dinner at a restaurant and you want to take your significant other out to a fancy dinner or a nice dinner, obviously you're going to look at the reviews and make sure it's a nice place, right? And you're probably going to pick the place that has better reviews, that looks better, that has everything that you were looking for. It's the same thing here. If your property meets all the requirements, it has all the amenities that you're looking for, it has really good photos, really good interior design, it's very good showcased, and it has really good reviews like these do, 5 stars, 4.8, 4.9, then if this is what you're looking for, obviously there's no need for you to scroll down on Airbnb, scroll down to more properties and find the properties that are doing less, and the properties that have less reviews, and the properties that have worse pictures, that don't exactly have exactly what you're looking for, right? So in order to make sure that you are acquiring a property like that, all you have to do is find the best performing properties that are similar to yours and find out exactly what they're doing, what they have to offer, and make sure that your property either has that stuff to offer, or with interior design and a team, you can add those things to the property to ensure that you can compete with the upper percentile of the market. So obviously y'all don't know what the property looks like, but I'm going to go first hand and show y'all what I would do exactly if you had a property and you knew what it looked like. First thing I'm going to do is look through the first property. Obviously, I'm going to go one by one. And we'll go right off the bat and say this property is a little bit higher tier, a little bit more luxurious than the property that we have. And with these, you can also click on them and go through the photos if you want on here. You can also click on the Airbnb thing right here and it will take you to that particular Airbnb listing. I mean, I don't need to go in that much detail right now. I just need to see if it looks similar to the property that we have and if it offers similar things that our property offers as well. Like if our property had a pool and a hot tub and a putting green, then I would want to see what the properties that look like ours and have a pool and a hot tub and a putting green are doing as far as numbers, right? Now I'm going to go to this next one right here. Now this property looks very similar to the property that we have. Y'all saw it in the video, and it's set up very similarly. Let's see what the interior design looks like. They offer similar amenities as well. Very good pictures, very clean. I like them. And then I like all the close-up shots. I like the beer in the coolers. Not me particularly. I don't drink beer, but the interior is kind of bland, honestly. The interior design that we have is better than this, in my opinion. And I would say that's a pretty worth opinion, my professional opinion. This property is very bland and boring, just black, white, and gray. It's doing significantly well, right? Now, I would say this property is a comp, which is a comparable property. So I would save this property. You can hit add right here and create a comp set. I'm not going to do that right now because I don't prefer doing it that way. But if you do it that way, it'll tell you, like, after you add enough properties, what your average daily rate and occupancy rate would be based off the comparable properties that you add. But I don't need to do that. Okay. Now, the next thing is to go through the next property. Same thing. Now, this property, very, very similar to the property that we have as well. I would say similar interior design style, not particularly the colors, but the style. And I would say this is a very good comp as well. So I would say this property is a good comp. This property is a good comp. This one, no, I don't think is a good comp. It has a lot more going on as far as, on the walls and Instagrammable stuff. So I'm going to leave this one there. This one, right off the bat, very similar as far as what we offer. So I'll keep this one, this one, this one. I usually like to add 5. This one's extremely similar to ours as far as design style and colors. So that's good. Now, the closer that you can find a property that's similar to yours, the better. This one is very similar as well. So I have these 5 right here. Now, what you're going to want to do is add the daily rate for each one of these, and then obviously divide it by 5 so you can get your average, and that would give me $648. So what I would do is go over to my calculator and I would type in $648 right here, because that's going to be my average nightly rate. Now I need to figure out what my occupancy would be, as long as my interior design and my listing is up to par with these properties, which would be interior design, photos, the actual description on Airbnb, and how well your property does over time with the reviews. So now I would do the same thing. I would add up the occupancy rates here. So it would take 90 plus 74 plus 78 plus 78 again, and then plus 91. And I would divide that by 5, which gives me about 82 to 83%, which it gives you an 82, but I think this property would do a little bit better. But let's say we just did 82%, right? Which is just what we're basing it off of. The similar properties that are near it and look very similar to ours, right? So in this case, this property, we spent about $4,000 a month in rent. Our security deposit was also $4,000, and we spent about $40,000 in furniture, decor, interior design, everything, right? All said and done. Which brings us to a total of $48,000 as far as total investment, which you might think sounds like a lot. However, like I mentioned prior to, this client did leverage 0% interest business credit cards to cover all the expenses on this. And the best part about that is that we acquired those business funds for them, because otherwise you have a new LLC that's not generating a ton of income, and you don't have a relationship with those banks, and you don't meet all that criteria that I just mentioned, it's very hard to get any amount of business funding, especially when it comes to a significant amount, to be able to leverage and grow a multiple 6-figure and even 7-figure Airbnb business. So this particular client, Phil, we got him over $200,000 in 0% interest business credit. I'll actually pop that up on the screen right here so y'all can see how much he got in 0% interest funds, which is pretty awesome. He used that to set up this property. Now, in this case, based off the comps, which is comparable properties, this property would do about $648 a day on average. That's not every day. Every day is going to be completely different from the next day. And we have about 25 days a month occupied, meaning this property would do almost $16,000 a month in revenue, $191,000 a year in revenue, $11,000 a month in profit, and $133,000 a year in profit, giving him a 23% monthly ROI. That is absolutely absurd. That means in the first year, this property will do, just under 300% ROI. That is actually insane. And he'll make his money back in 4 months, which is also insane. Not just in real estate, but in any investment in general. To get a monthly 23% ROI means return on your investment, and make your money back in 4 months. That means 4 months from now. And he could do it faster because he has a lot more capital to be able to get as many properties as he wanted, really. But if he wanted to recoup his funds and then do it again, he could do it in easily 4 months. I want to mention, because typically we were signing like 4 or 5 years, sometimes longer leases on these properties. And we always end up renewing the leases as well, so this is good to mention. Then the second year, third year, so on and so forth, you will not have a furniture cost, because, we use high quality furniture, so it's going to last the lifetime of that property. So you won't have the cost of furniture, and you also won't have that security deposit. You'll just have the monthly rent that you'll pay for. So in that case, this property would do 277% monthly ROI. That is absolutely absurd. Meaning this property will make, just short or just around 3,000% ROI yearly. That is a phenomenal investment. Like, I cannot stress that enough. And this isn't like some insane deal. This is like a pretty average deal. I wouldn't say average as far as the numbers, but I'm saying average as far as the deals that we go after and the deals that we target. This is exactly what we look for. This is the framework and the exact type of way and property that we would secure. Absolutely absurd. That's like almost equivalent to, buying Bitcoin when it was, a few $100 and selling it when it was 6 figures. That is insane. And then also on top of that, being able to do this predictably over and over again. And we have been able to do this predictably over and over again. Like for example, if I go over to Airbnb right now, I'm not even logged into my account. We go over to Airbnb right now. If I just go to Scottsdale, Arizona, and I put no filters, no nothing, right? The craziest part about this, we're not in Scottsdale, but if I go to actually in Scottsdale, when I do this, I'm not going to point out, each and every property specifically. When I do this, a lot of the properties that are in number one, number two, the top percentile of properties, they're properties that me and my team have set up and me and my team have launched, which is actually nuts to see that, our properties and properties that we're launching for clients are ending up in the very top percentile of the markets. Not only do we know exactly how to set up and do the interior design on a property, which is incredibly important, but also the photos, how to list them, how to set up the listing on Airbnb, and then obviously running a very, very efficient and effective Airbnb. That's all I got for y'all. That's how we run the numbers. I hope y'all enjoyed running around with me today. Yeah, if you're interested in, potentially working with me, I'm not one of those persons that have like a course where I'm going to accept everyone and anyone to work with. If you're someone that wants to work with me, if you want to work with me one-on-one and have access to my team to acquire funds for you, to negotiate properties for you, meaning like my team will call landlords all day, every day to negotiate properties for you, have access to my team to do the interior design, to set up and install properties for you and launch them with you, then you could book a call down below in the description. On that call is not a sales call by any means. That call is actually to decide if we would like to work with you, because I started doing this whole, mentorship thing more as I actually started doing it for free while I was active duty military. Obviously, I'm retired now. Started doing it for free initially because I just wanted to, it was really fulfilling for me watching people make a ton of money from what I had taught them. But it would be really dumb of me to continue doing that. If you've ever looked at any of my content, you've seen that any of my clients are highly, highly successful. And if we don't end up working together, totally cool. We're still going to give you all the resources and tools and everything that you could need. I hope you appreciated this video. If you liked it, let me know down below in the comments. Like and subscribe. I'll be dropping videos weekly, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Peace. Should be able to hear better.
Yeah, you're okay.